Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Zero Signal podcast. Today we're going to do something a little different. Usually I have my co-host with me, Stuart Mitchell, and often we have a world-class guest on the podcast too, where we dissect cybersecurity, AI, the intersection, and we really explore that. But today I want to do something a little different. This is just me and you. I wanted to share with you the 3 pillars of the Zero Signal podcast. It's really important that if you're here and you're listening, you know what you're getting from us. When we say no hype, no fluff, we really try to embody and live that. And the best way to do that is to have a really clear point of view on what is this world that we want to build. We're going through a massive transformation, and I think there's optimism to be found there. There's excitement to be found in this future, but there's also decisions to be made and guardrails to be implemented and policies to be decided upon. And so I'm going to share with you now the 3 pillars of the Zero Signal podcast, the framework by which we evaluate all the guests that we come on, the quality of work that we do. We'll go through this lens, and we come from this point of view. It's important that you know where we stand on these topics because all of us every day are shaping the future that we want to live in. So without further ado, let me share with you where we're at. AI is not arriving. It is already re-architecting the world. Capital markets and governments are rushing to build fences, regulations, incentives, and guardrails. So at Zero Signal, we focus on the architecture underneath it all. How are these AI systems built? How are they governed? How is trust earned or lost? After 15 years of building and leading cybersecurity programs inside real organizations, one truth I have found keeps repeating is that headlines tend to chase the what, the outcome, the valuation, the speed, but durability is decided by the how, the process, the controls, the choices leaders make before failure is visible. Zero Signal exists to interrogate the how of this AI transition that we're going through. Not the hype cycles, not the optimism theater, and certainly not these demos that we don't have consequences. This platform is reserved for people who are shaping a transition that lasts. There are 3 pillars to this. Pillar 1, the courage to grow. AI is collapsing the cost of historically expensive work. This fact is undeniable. What remains undecided is how we as leaders will respond. The AI transition cannot be used as an excuse to reduce investment in human capital. If AI is applied primarily as a cost-cutting tool, fewer people, smaller payrolls, thinner organizations, we do not get progress. We're going to get stagnation. AI is a general purpose technology. On the scale of electricity or the steam engine, history is consistent on this point. When general purpose technologies are used only for efficiencies, they fail to deliver broad economic gains. When they are used to expand what humans can do, they create entirely new industries. There is a current discussion happening around this projected $600 billion revenue gap we're seeing in AI. And it's often framed defensively as something to be made up through efficiencies. I believe this framing is wrong. This is not debt to be paid down, but instead this is our growth mandate. If AI is used merely to do the same work with fewer people, the result is an inevitable deflationary spiral. Costs have a floor, but growth does not. To justify the scale of investment pouring into AI, organizations must use it to do things that were previously impossible. This isn't an ideology as much as it is basic economics. Eric Bajorn of the Stanford Digital Economy Lab warned explicitly against what he calls the Turing trap, a strategy where AI is developed for human substitution rather than human augmentation. His research shows that substitution leads to stagnant wages, weak productivity growth, even as the technology advances. Augmentation, by contrast, expands output and creates demand for new kinds of work. See, the risk is not automation itself. The risk is a harvesting mindset. When organizations try to cut costs to drive a technology shift, they are harvesting an existing business rather than planting new ones. That strategy can preserve margins briefly, but it starves our future. Famously, Jim Covell of Goldman Sachs has warned that the AI investment only turns into a bubble if it fails to produce a genuine killer application. I argue it's not a better spreadsheet, it's not a fast report, it is a new category of value that expands the economic surface area. New markets are the point. Personalized medicine at scale, climate modeling that reshapes energy systems, one-to-one education for every child. These are not efficiencies, these are expansions. Even skeptics agree this is where the real gains come from. Darren Acemoglu of MIT, often cited for his caution on near-term AI productivity gains, makes a critical distinction. He says that technology creates durable growth only when it enables task creation, not just task replacement. New tasks pull humans into higher order work. Old tasks push out without replacement, hollowing organizations and societies alike. The human question is not optional. This is what I mean by having the courage to grow. The courage to invest in people while expanding capabilities, the courage to create new work, not just remove old work, the courage to treat AI as a tool for expansion rather than contraction. At Zero Signal, we platform leaders who see AI as a way to grow the economic pie, not just slice it thinner. We're not really interested in building a more efficient past. We're interested in building a more expansive future. The second pillar here is human-centered systems. I think it's really important to remember that AI is not a moment. It is a multi-decade transition in how humans think, decide, and act. Short-term gains that ignore people will not compound. They will degrade judgment, they will weaken institutions, they will shift responsibility to systems that simply cannot bear it. I believe in a human-centered AI as a design principle, not as a value statement. At its core, human-centered AI treats organizations as living socio-technical systems, systems where humans and machines shape one another over time. These roles are not fixed. Boundaries evolve. Sense-making is shared, and the work is really never finished. Human-AI collaboration is not static. It's an ongoing feedback system. Sometimes the right tool for the job is a machine acting autonomously. Sometimes the right tool is a human acting alone. Often the right answer is a deliberately designed collaboration between the two. What matters is these choices are intentional. Different parts of the system bring out different strengths. Machines excel at speed, pattern recognition, and scale. Humans bring judgment, context, moral reasoning, and responsibility for consequences. Good systems put responsibility where the strength is highest. Bad systems blur that line, and then they call it progress. This requires leaders to design interfaces, decision boundaries, and escalation paths on purpose. A human-AI collaboration must be designed, not assumed. If responsibility is ambiguous, failure is already in motion. There is also a deeper truth that often goes unsaid. Accountability is uniquely human. Humans are the only actors who fear consequence. Legal, moral, social, personal. That fear is not a weakness, it is the foundation of responsibility. If AI systems are built to serve and amplify humans, accountability remains with people. There's no moral outsourcing to machines. There's no abdication to agents. There's no, the system decided. Somebody owns the objective. Someone defines success. Someone answers for the outcome. Human-centered systems must therefore create and reward agency, not remove it. People must be empowered to intervene, question, override, and learn. Systems that bypass agency don't scale wisdom, they scale risk. This is where reciprocal learning matters. In healthy systems, humans improve the AI through feedback, correction, and intent. At the same time, AI improves humans by expanding perception, resurfacing patterns, and sharpening judgment. Both sides learn, both sides adapt, and the loop tightens over time. The goal is not to let the machines do the hard work for us. It is to help humans grow stronger by removing distractions, not responsibility. As Daniel Miesler, a guest on the podcast, has shared, he has argued in his keep the robots out of the gym analogy, strength comes from effort with support, not by removing it entirely. Human-centered AI should make people better decision makers, better leaders, better stewards of power, not just faster workers. Research from MIT and Harvard University has shown that people will follow inaccurate AI advice at meaningful rates, roughly a third to 40% of the time in controlled experiments, even when they have enough information to detect the errors themselves. The failure mode is not technical, it's cognitive. Left unattended, humans do not supervise AI. They defer to it. That is why a human-centered design isn't optional. This collaboration must be structured so judgment is exercised, not surrendered. This also demands a conscious transition. Skills will evolve, roles will change. Judgment must be trained and not assumed. Human-centered systems do not emerge by accident. They are built, they are governed, and they are maintained with intent. At Zero Signal, we prioritize builders and leaders who treat human agency, accountability, and learning as a first-order design constraint. If a future vision removes humans from meaningful responsibility, it is incomplete. If the person disappears from the system is already broken. Pillar 3, secure AI is responsible AI. Trust is the only currency that matters in the AI economy. As we delegate more authority to AI systems across markets, governments, and institutions, trust shifts from people to systems. That shift is irreversible. It also raises the bar. AI systems create value. They also create new attack surfaces, new failure modes, new forms of harm at scale. In a world of agentic threat actors, insecurity does not stay local. It propagates. Security is not a feature. It is an institutional infrastructure. If AI systems are going to carry authority, they must be governable. If they're going to make decisions, they must be interruptible. If they're going to act autonomously, they must be observable. These are not ethical preferences. They're prerequisites for delegation. This is why cybersecurity must be treated as a moral obligation, not just a job function. Brittle systems erode trust, quietly at first, then all at once. As the line often attributed to Ernest Hemingway puts it, how did he go bankrupt? 2 ways, gradually, then suddenly. Trust fails the same way. Small cracks accumulate out of sight. Minor incidents get normalized, signals get ignored, then a single event exposes how little resiliency was actually there. When trust collapses, it doesn't degrade gracefully. It just disappears. We do not need systems that merely resist attack. We need systems that learn under pressure. In an age of adaptive and agentic adversaries, static defenses quickly decay. Secure AI systems must be able to sense stress, respond in real time, improve through exposure. This is what anti-fragility means in practice. Systems that grow stronger when attacked. Trust cannot be asserted. It must be observable. Quarterly reports are insufficient for systems that act continuously. Annual audits are insufficient for threats that adapt hourly. The future demands real-time transparency into system behavior, how decisions are made, how failures occur, and how recovery happens. Trust is not the absence of failure. Trust is visible recovery with integrity. Security is the mechanism that prevents this moral outsourcing. Builders receive an upside of AI systems. Users and societies absorb the downside of those when the systems fail. Cybersecurity is a discipline that forces responsibility to be carried forward, not pushed outward. It is how builders internalize the cost of failure before the harms occur. Responsible AI without security is a slogan. Secure AI is responsibility in practice. The Zero Signal platforms, builders, and leaders who treat security, resiliency, and transparency as first-order design constraints, not optional, not deferred, not abstracted away. If an AI system cannot be defended, it shouldn't be deployed. If it cannot be observed, it should not be trusted. If it cannot recover under attack, then it shouldn't hold power. This is not about fear. It is about stewardship. Thank you. The world in front of us is so rich. We have the opportunity to create the world that's going to benefit so many, or it can benefit a few. The decisions are ours in small ways and big ways every day. It's our role to choose wisely and use wisely the time that's been given to us. Thank you for listening. This has been this week's episode of a Zero Signal podcast. We will get you in the next couple of weeks with our normal programming, where I'll have my co-host and we will have a world-class guest.